The reel you see here is the 2020 Daiwa ALPHAS Air TW. Now, while it's certainly not Daiwa's first bait finesse reel, it's the reel that put Daiwa BFS on the map. Its claim to fame is the ability to easily cast 1 gram out of the box for, at the time, relatively little money. No modifications or upgrades needed. Now, unfortunately for the ALPHAS Air, the way that Daiwa engineered the reel to be able to cast 1 gram so easily also gave it a big weakness. And that weakness was lack of casting distance with average BFS weight lures compared to the competition. And not soon after the ALPHAS Air was released, China came out with a few BFS reels that actually casted 1 gram better than the ALPHAS for a lot less money. But these reels also casted heavier BFS lures better than the ALPHAS as well. So the ALPHAS Air was getting bullied left and right by not only Shimano BFS reels, but also a lot of Chinese BFS reels. And that's how it's been for a few years now. But it looks like Daiwa Japan sent the ALPHAS off to the gym, hopefully to put on some muscle. And now we have this, the new 2025 ALPHAS BF-TW. So it looks like Daiwa is moving away from calling their BFS reels Air, which I think is a mistake. But anyways, let's check out this new ALPHAS BF-TW. And hopefully this is the start of a new phase for Daiwa BFS, where their reels won't get bullied by its competition so much. Now, before I pull this reel out of the box and show it to you, just want to say I got this reel from Japan Lure Shop, and they have not only this reel, but they have the new Scorpion 300 MD from Shimano in stock. And I believe even with shipping, their prices are considerably cheaper than Digitaka. So I'm going to leave the link to Japan Lure Shop pinned in the top of the comment section, and just shop around. They have awesome service. So they are covering the reel with this black bag, and here's some more paperwork. Of course, no oil. And let's check this reel out. I've been anticipating it for the longest time, ever since they announced it on the internet. And boom. Look at that. All right, very smooth. Turning the handle is not quite as easy as it was on the previous model, but luckily it's still very smooth. And of course this is not an entirely new reel. They're using the same platform as the old reel, which is a good thing, because this platform is probably one of the top 5 most comfortable reels to fish and palm in the world. But yeah, let me let you guys take a good look at this thing. Okay, look at those knobs. I should say the knob end caps. Look at the handle. There's a 0 adjuster. Thumb bar feels pretty good. All right, I'm going to study this thing real quick, and we're going to compare it with the old reel, and I'm going to show you all the changes, both insignificant and significant. So we have both reels in front of us, and let's go over the less important cosmetic changes first before we go over the big important ones. Now, the first change is going to be the color. As you can see, the new reel is black now instead of dark gray, and the finish is satiny matte instead of shiny and glossy. I wish they would have kept the shiny and glossy. but I think it would have looked too much like the SS Air. So next up is, I wouldn't say insignificant as far as cosmetic changes go, because look at the handle and knobs. Now I like the knob end caps of the new reel, which are shiny chrome, but look at the handle on the new reel as well. Now it's the same length at 80 millimeters. I thought it was going to be longer, but it's no longer skeletonized. And look at that ugly nut and retainer. It's just this cheap plastic black piece. Look at that. And then when you compare it to the old reel, the nut and retainer look very similar to Daiwa's more expensive bait casters. And I definitely wish they would have kept this design right here. Now let's look at the zero adjuster. Now with the old ALPHAS Air, you had this plastic trim piece over the gearbox, and the zero adjuster was just this cheap plastic piece that, yeah, that's all I need to say about that. But with the new reel, now the plastic has been trimmed back just to this small little piece covering the gearbox, but then the zero adjuster is now metal. And the housing that it goes into is also metal. So definitely a step up in my opinion, but Daiwa says this is also a lube port. If you unscrew this, you can lube your bearings, but for some reason, I'm not sure if it's just my reel, they didn't include a tool to remove the zero adjuster. I guess you have to do it with your finger. I know in the past Shimano had similar designs where they included a little plastic tool for you to remove that spool tension cap, but nothing in my box. Now if you have a new ALPHAS BF, let me know in the comments if you got a tool to remove the zero adjuster cap. Now obviously, not surprising, the new reel is made in Thailand, as all reels are that use this platform. And then a big change visually is going to be the location of the brake dial. And with the old reel, it was very discreet. So right here where my thumb is, very easy to adjust. Just reach down with your finger and move it back and forth. And now with the new reel, obviously they moved it up here and you really can't adjust it. I guess you can, but it'd be very uncomfortable. You really would have to flip the reel on its side and adjust like this. Typical Daiwa brake adjustment, nice positive quality clicks. Now they did move this brake dial probably because this reel has a new brake system, which is one of the two major changes to the ALPHAS BF. So with that being said, we're going to dive into the most important changes, which are to the heart of the reel, which is the spool and the brakes. So like I always do, I'm gonna get a weight on the old reel versus the new reel. Now it's been a while since I've weighed the ALPHAS Air TW, and if I remember correctly, it's like 5.6 ounces. 5.63. Now the new reel, strangely enough, actually feels heavier. And that's because it is 5.87. So it gained 0.2 of an ounce. Not like it's gonna mean anything out on the water though. But the new reel does feel more of a chunk in hand than the old reel, which is strange because they have the same frame, which is aluminum, and the same side plate, which is aluminum as well. So now let's get to the spool and I'm going to show you the new brakes. Now there are two big reasons why Daiwa BFS reels get bullied so much. Number one is the spool size, and number two is the overly strong braking profile of the air brake braking system. And this is not just a problem for the old ALPHAS Air, it was a problem for pretty much all their current bait finesse reels. Now really tiny spool and strong brakes are great for ease of casting really light lures, let's say 1.5 grams down to 1 gram. But like I said before, the competition not only caught up, but surpassed Daiwa in that department like several years ago. I'm not talking just Shimano, I'm talking even the Chinese. So with the new ALPHAS, Daiwa made a big change to both of those things, the spool and its brakes. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my spool scale out, because I'm really interested to see just how little or how heavy this new spool is. Okay, here's the 2020 spool, and let's pull out the new one. All right, let's do a quick comparison. So do you see what they did? If I can just line them up side by side, the new spool is definitely noticeably bigger in diameter. You can definitely see it. The old spool is 28 millimeters and the new one is now 30. So it looks like Daiwa is learning from their mistakes and actually swallowing their pride and bumping up the spool size to be able to compete with all the other ferocious BFS reels out on the market today. So holding them in hand, I don't know, they feel about the same, but let's see what the scale says. All right, so the old spool comes in at 8.076 grams. And if you take this bearing off, the spool's rotational mass is 6.19 grams. Okay, so the new one is virtually the same. I guess we should be glad that it didn't gain weight, since it did go up in size. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bearing off and we're gonna get a true rotational mass. Now, unfortunately, my cheap AliExpress spool bearing remover tool was not able to fit into the new spool properly enough to remove the pin without doing some damage. So what I did was I took a look at both bearings and they appear to be exactly the same. So doing a little bit of math, it looks like the new spool is just a hair lighter, coming in at about 6.14 grams. So that means in the grand scheme of today's bait finesse world, this spool is on the heavy side. It's not the heaviest, but it's definitely not the lightest, and I believe it is a little bit heavier than the current industry average. But honestly, I don't think that's going to mean too much, but we'll find out on the water. Now, if you're wondering how Daiwa kept the spool weight pretty much the same even though they made the new spool bigger, that brings us to the brake system. Right here. This is how they did it. The new ALPHAS is sporting the latest brake system from Daiwa, the SS MagForce, the same brake system that comes in the SS Air. Now, what the SS MagForce is Daiwa pretty much inverted the rotor. Therefore, they had to make it much smaller, and you can definitely see the difference in size. And in fact, Daiwa claims the new smaller rotor is 27% lighter. But I explained this brake system in detail when I did the unboxing of the SS Air, if you want to go check that out. But basically they flip the rotor so that it fits inside the spool instead of on the outside. And a couple other things they did to it as well. But I'm trying to see if it twists or not. I don't think it twists. So I'm not sure if this would be considered air brake. But the result of this new brake system is supposed to be a freer casting, faster spool that's supposed to aid in distance casting as well as low trajectory casts. Now, when I did the casting comparison between the SS Air and the ALPHAS Air, I didn't see any difference between the two, to be honest, when I casted them side by side. So let's hope that the new, bigger spool will change that. So to end this video off, let's talk about one change I haven't talked about yet, and that is going to be the price. This new ALPHAS BF, I believe it's priced at about 10,000 yen more than the old model. So with the current exchange rate, you're probably looking at $80. Now that's strange because, I mean, pretty much a lot of the big things are the same, like frame material, handle, side plate material. The knobs are the same Zion drag star, same thumb bar. But I guess the zero adjuster and its housing is made of metal. It looks better, but I don't know if it's $80 better. But yeah, this is a strange move by Daiwa because that makes this reel pretty much the same price as their SS Air, which is second only to the STEEZ when it comes to the Daiwa BFS hierarchy. Now I will say that the price of the reel will depend on what shop you order it from, but when I go to Digitaka, which I'm going to right now on my tablet, this new TATULA BF is priced at $311, while Shimano's 22 ALDEBARAN BFS is only $256. That is ridiculous. Now once again, different shops are going to charge different prices, but costing over $50 more than the ALDEBARAN? This reel better be some kind of impressive caster. I'm sure Daiwa used ALDEBARAN as a target when updating this reel, so let's hope that they got their engineering right. But let me know in the comment section if you think that these changes to the new reel are worth that big price bump. I'm not going to pass judgment until I do some testing, but before the new TATULA goes up against the King ALDEBARAN, it has to go up against its rivals in-house first. So that means tomorrow, if the weather is good enough, I'm going to take both of these reels and we're going to do some side-by-side casting. And of course, I'm going to give you as well as show you my impressions. Alright guys, thanks a lot.